through the walls.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. Sorry for the delay, but we have a tradition here on Inside the Walls Network. What are times and why the hell do we have them? So, because we don't follow them one bit. And we'll get to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. Today's going to be a nice interactive show. As a typical show here, we're never on script. But one thing you can do is follow us on social media platforms, including our podcast platform. Look up Inside the Walls podcast and all the podcasts associated with Inside the Walls Network, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and Podcast Addict. Of course, visit our website at nwallsnet.com and follow all of us on social media at nwallspod. Everything. So, what do you want to talk about?
I'm just curious if anybody did any research for tonight. That's all I want to know.
No, we're a scripted show.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
We are a propaganda scripted show. In the words of Coach Rez and Jeff last night on Through the Wire, you can watch a repeat of the show, ladies and gentlemen. When does the commissioner hand out the scripts? Because they'll like to know what it is so they can plan ahead. But hey, we are not the WWE. You might see a white guy throw two dudes in the Ohio River on March 10th in lovely Wheeling, West Virginia on game day. And Jeff knows and everyone else, we'll tease you. Big show on game day. It's going to be epic. Big names going to be there. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to mention who, because that's going to be the tease. Before we get closer to when we actually make the announcement, you'd be like, holy shit, that's actually pretty legit. Because we got to follow a script, man. We have a script. We have many days, many weeks to follow. Speaking of scripts, Jeff, I can't confirm that I haven't stolen anything from you this episode.
That's because I got to it quicker than you did.
Touche. I was too busy working on other things for another league. Matt?
Hi.
Good talk.
I'm just excited to have our guest on tonight. It's just so cool to have somebody from Idaho on tonight. So
we really, not really. When was the last time we had someone on Riggs? Was the last person we had from Idaho? Yeah. That's. We had Riggs. Did we have Vincent Espinoza on here? Oh no, that was Caroline's show. Okay, but again, we have a you can literally call him a journeyman in the sport. And if you're not from Idaho or the AWFC or Northern Michigan or Milford University, you probably may not know this individual because apparently, from you look at his LinkedIn, even LinkedIn has no idea who the individual is because it hasn't been updated since he stays in college. I'm not going to bash the poor man. It is an honor to have him on the show today. Matt reached out to him, got the call back. So, Matt, you have the honors of introducing our guest for today's episode.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the episode today wide receiver for the Idaho Horsemen, Clavin Lowe.
All right,
what's up, Clavin?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Not too bad, man. Thanks for being on here tonight. We appreciate it.
Yes, and ladies and gentlemen, you do see Clavin is pointing at Calvin. Well, first off, I didn't want to take a dig at your LinkedIn, but when I found your LinkedIn, that was pretty funny. So it hasn't been updated since you were in college. But your journey to Idaho is unique. You went from the AWFC, early years of the AAL, and now you find your way up to Idaho. Describe that journey, especially for an indoor football player, how adventurous that has been.
The journey is definitely a little rough at times, because you're trying to find somewhere that you enjoy being. But you learn a lot along the way, and pretty much just playing in the AAL back east. Then getting out, being able to have an opportunity to go out west to the AWFC. It was definitely a different change of scenery, a different change of brand of football. And then finding your team that you want to be with, like the Horsemen. So it's been a real journey, and it's been nice though, and happy to be where I'm at now.
Just speak of that journey. You're from Jersey.
Yeah.
How in the heck do you end up in Idaho?
Never would have thought in a million years I'd be in a place like Idaho. And what I find is that I love it out there. And then so just being back home, pretty much looking for any opportunity possible, coming out of college. So just going to different tryouts and things, and got on with the Carolina Cowboys in the AAL. They were a first year team. And then I ended up after that, we went through the COVID phase. And then, I was back home and got on with the Pennsylvania Union. And coming off of COVID, it was pretty tough trying to get games. So we only had like 2 or 3. And then in that same 2021 year, I was able to go play out west with the Yakima Canines at the time. So ended up out there. Really, really fell in love with the West Coast. It was my first time on the West Coast. And then from there to the Wenatchee Skyhawks. And, for those 2 years, it was being out west. I really enjoyed it. And then, ended up finally being with the Horsemen. And once I got there, I was like, yeah, I'm good here. So just enjoyed being there,
Became a Boise fan?
Yeah. The blue turf is quite something to see in person. So,
Well, they made a little bit of a run. Unfortunately, they ran into Penn State.
Yeah.
Jeff?
So let's talk about that journey a little bit. A lot of people, they see you as obviously wide receiver. We had you down here. A lot of people don't know you play a little bit of both, a little bit of quarterback, a little bit of receiver. Talk about that a little bit, the differences of flipping from quarterback to receiver. And you actually talked off the air of saying that you've done it in the middle of a game too.
Yeah. Quarterback, it's something that I've done since I was in 8th grade. So quarterback is, I know how to play the position. I know how to be functional at the position. But as I got older, obviously, there's just, I'm more of an athlete type of quarterback. So, I also, keep the receiver game pretty strong. And then, pretty much just over time, it just kind of developed into one of those things where I enjoy playing receiver for sure. Playing quarterback, if we got somebody that can actually, get the job done, I don't mind just being receiver. That's fine. So it's nice to have that in your arsenal to be able to go both ways. You definitely add some value to yourself on any team you're on. So it's been something that just kind of keeping, and just make it whenever a team needs it, I'll get back there and play it. So I just make it work.
That's nice too, because that saves a roster spot. Because I mean, you could be on the chart as a backup quarterback. That way it holds a spot for somebody else, with the 21-man rosters. Coach Rez talks about it all the time. His backup quarterback, he doesn't want him wearing a headset and holding a clipboard. He wants him playing. And that, you got to be kind of strategic in that 21-man roster. So that's a nice weapon to have for Idaho, to have you as a backup quarterback and playing at the same time.
Yeah.
What do you prefer, receiver or quarterback?
Oh, yeah. I like wide receiver. I like
less pressure.
Route, and it's a lot, it's definitely more fun to play wide receiver. But quarterback, if I need to, I can handle it, so just from experience in the past of doing it.
So, Coach Resinalo, how was your time, or how do you like was it the Skyhawks? That over in AWFC?
Yeah, Skyhawks. I mean, that was definitely a fun season. You know, we definitely we came into the year, had to figure it out a little bit, playing with Rico Brown, and he was constantly making roster moves week in and week out. But we ended the year pretty hot. That's when we ended up getting Lorenz, and we think we just had honestly just a really good overall team around the board. We got hot towards the end, went into the playoffs and made a run, and we ended up in the championship game. So Wenatchee was definitely it was a fun year. It was definitely a fun year. It felt good to be on the winning side of some things, and out here just putting in work really.
Well, he's asking more questions. How you like the venue?
For Wenatchee?
Mm-hmm.
I like the stadium. I thought it was a nice stadium. It got the job done for sure. So the year I played there, it's a cool setup in there when you go in there. So I liked it.
Before you know it, he's going to be asking, what's your favorite snack bar? Are you Diet Coke or regular Coke type of guy? Matt, you got anything?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit off air about last year's quarterback situation. You played quarterback a little bit last year for I think a few of the games to start the season. You guys kind of, for lack of a better term, had a revolving door at quarterback. But this year we look at the roster. You've got Caleb Lowe, who I joked is your cousin off air, and then you've got DeMarcus Bryant, who we saw last year with Sioux City. Talk about what you know about those guys and what excites you about both of those players.
Yeah, that quarterback position, I think Coach addressed it really well this offseason by bringing in two guys that, they want to compete. From seeing, the films of both of them, I think they're both good quarterbacks. I think they're both, they both bring things to the table that, can definitely contribute to winning football. I think the best part now is that, we have them and it's almost like we're just ready to get to camp and, get to work with both of them and see what they can both do. So, but yeah, two good quarterbacks, and we're definitely excited to have them.
Last season was a difficult season for Idaho,
Yeah.
coming off of a championship year in the AWFC. New opponents last year: Omaha, Sioux City, Colorado, to name a few, and a long, lengthy road trip to Carolina. How's that as a player, the travel, especially you from Jersey, so you're an East Coast boy, so you're used to, when you said Carolina, I'm going back to my time zone. But the travel for an organization like Idaho to go to Carolina and Omaha and Sioux City, how's a typical travel day for you guys was for Idaho?
Well, a travel day, with those distances, you're on the road, it's tough, but I think the overall experience, that it's exactly what you want if you're a competitor out here, and you want to win. Traveling to these places and getting to go to these different arenas and play these teams, and then the competition level that everybody's at, it's awesome. So we, it's like me and my teammates, we look at it like it's really cool to be able, for such a long time, we wanted to the competition, we wanted it, and then now we're here. So it's definitely, when you take the trips, it's definitely it makes it worth it to, have a good opponent that's going to play you for 4 quarters, no matter where you go in this league. So, we enjoy it. We enjoy it and we embrace it.
What's the typical ritual for you for a road trip?
Probably front seat talking to coach, just, keeping each other awake the whole time. So
good point. Good. Yeah.
And
bugging the driver sometimes, because one thing about this big buses, the ones that they charter, I don't trust the drivers. I'm cool with everyone in the the bus. I just don't. It's just me. I just don't like the drivers. Maybe it's because of my personal experience on the Jacksonville Shark fan bus going to Orlando. We hit something. We hit somebody. Ever since then, I'm not really a fan of it. But hey.
I've got some stories too about charter bus drivers, but we'll save that for another time. So.
Good point. But also last year, as you know, we've mentioned before, sometimes the stats are a little bit off, but stats are not the whole thing. What is your, even though on the website it says 2 touchdowns, and there's a lot else that goes behind the scenes, especially for a player, what are the things that you as a player, you're into the season you thought you were going to be good at, but you had to work on your craft to get better at of the season from last year?
Yeah, definitely just feel like I had to work on my overall my whole game. Definitely wanted to just put on more weight and work on being more explosive. Just overall on the field. So I feel like there's always something you can get better on. There's always something that you can improve on. So, even when you think you're at that point where you've done it all, you want to still keep yourself hungry, keep yourself motivated to have new goals to accomplish. So, last year was definitely as a building year. It was definitely good to have your eyes set on new things for this year.
Challenging years, usually those type of seasons build, as the words of my coach in high school, builds character.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you have an organization that's used to winning all the time, and you have that one down year, you get to see the real cats in the building, who are the ones that are going to go out there next year with the grind. But speaking about this year's team, a lot of you got familiar fan signings, especially for Flanders. He recommended you to get on the show. Who are you looking forward to getting back on the field with next year for Idaho?
Definitely anybody returning. I mean, Rashad, Rashad's an he's an all around beast, so, being on the field with a guy like that, I don't think there's anything on a football field he can't do. We've seen him kick return, running back, wide receiver, safety. I've even seen a quarterback at times, so it's like I said, he does everything. Definitely, Kyler's another one. He's a baller. He's definitely the best receiver in the NAL. So it's just, they're playing with two guys like that, you see the caliber that they play at, and, it motivates you to be on that same level. And then the other receivers, that we have returning, that we have coming in, so anybody that we have returning from last year, we're ready to rock and roll with. And then definitely a lot of the newer guys on the team, we want to, get them in and get gelling so that we can, make this all come together and get rolling,
Agreed. Jeff?
So I got a question for you, just a little bit. So talk about your guys' helmets are very unique. The way they look. What's your thoughts on them? Do you like the uniqueness? Would you change anything about them, or anything of those natures?
I would. I mean, they're the best helmets in the NAL, in my opinion. I mean, so, but no, I think that they bring definitely a unique look to them, with the flames on the front, and then sort of the numbers on the side, and but it's also the fact that they're white. They kind of just I think they stick out to you. So I think our helmets are pretty on point. And then recently this past year we did have the silver gray flames that go in the front too. So that was a nice spin and twist to the jersey. So, or the helmets, I should say.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, like, we talk about your helmets being so unique, but the uniforms themselves are pretty basic. Like, it's just stripes and then just the regular uniform. So I'm surprised you guys didn't go all out on the entire uniform look, well, as you did with the helmets.
Yeah, I mean, we as long as we're all wearing the same thing, we look good out there. So
yeah,
that's kind of how we roll about it, and we just keep the color combos coming in. So, just got to.
Yeah, I really like it. I may or may not be working on some cool projects with Madden and stuff like that, but I digress. The thing I wanted to ask you about is you mentioned Rashad, and Kyler. You guys got Rashad and Kyler coming back, but you also got Justin Clarkson coming back as well. So you guys have the entire core wide receiver group from last year coming back. So I got two questions for you. Number one, what's the relationship like with those guys? And number two, do you ever find yourself like, man, I wish I would have got the ball or whatever instead of those guys? Or are you guys pretty solid in that aspect?
The relationship in the receiver room is it's awesome. I mean, from the moment I came to Idaho in 2023, guys like Justin Clarkson, guys like Cal McQuarrie, Kyler, all those guys, they really embraced me and brought me right along. So, there's never necessarily any bad blood in there or anything. And, it's a joy to play alongside of guys like that, because they they got your back, and I definitely got their back at any given moment. And as far as like targets or anything like that, I mean, me personally, I'm perfectly fine with seeing my teammates shine. I'm that type of guy that, like, as long as the team is doing good, I'm happy. So for me, it's whether I'm the one scoring the touchdown or whether it's Kyler, Justin, Cal, Rashad. We still going to celebrate in the end zone the same way. And we're still going to, I'm still going to be happy for whoever it is scoring or whoever it is getting the ball. So the receiver room it's nice. And then the other thing is it keeps a lot of stuff in place as far as running the same offense, so it's not really too much of a heavy learning curve when you're a returner. If you're new, you have to learn the plays, but when you return, it makes it a real ease on your mind to kind of already be in tune with the offense and have guys out there that you've been in game action with, and be back on the field running routes with them. So it's kind of just like just getting back in tune rather than it's trying to figure something out a lot of times.
Definitely.
Well, you guys mentioned jerseys. So players like sometimes what the team wears. So I found 3 combinations that I know Idaho wore last year. You got the all whites.
Yep.
You got the black on white.
Yes, sir.
You got the all grays.
Right.
What's the combo you like?
I mean, I
And
like.
You also got all blue too, right?
Yeah, there is an all blue.
Yeah, I thought so.
I like the all gray. I think the gray and white is smooth too. Last year we experimented and found out the black tops and gray bottoms are that's a good combo. And of course that black top and blue bottom combo is pretty elite as well. So for me, I like them all. I think they're all pretty much anything we're wearing. I'm that's my mentality that we're here, we're ready to play. But so I like those, and then never go wrong with the all black either. The all black is good as well too.
What's with the Northwest teams and the multiple jerseys? Like Oregon, they don't wear the same jersey at all. It's always every single week it's a new jersey.
Yeah, I mean,
I think was it like 87 consecutive weeks of the new combo? So it's ridiculous how long they're gone.
I read that they have enough jersey uniform, pants, jersey, and whatever combinations that they can go 5 years without repeating.
But Calvin, you're a busy man. I'm going to say thank you for coming on the show for this evening. But a lot of people are not big on social media, but this is your time because you got to go, make some money because you're a working man. Anywhere that the fans can follow you on social media?
Yeah, my Facebook page is my name, Clavin Lowe. My Instagram, CALLOWE3. And pretty much that's just where I'm on. So I keep it pretty simple. I'm not on a whole bunch of social platforms. So definitely Facebook or Instagram. And usually you can just find me by my name, and I'll have Horseman stuff posted on there. So it's it's a pretty easy find.
Okay, that's good. That's simple. You're not like all these people with the crazy names. You're like at, CK King _ hyphen. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Then you realize how many people have the same name. You're like, oh,
right.
Yeah.
I like to keep it simple. Keep it simple and just
Yeah, good point. Before we let you go, what are your personal goals this year, and what is the main goal this year for you and for the organization?
Main goal is to get another one of these. That's the main goal, to get a championship. And the main goal and personal goals to be better than I was last year. So anything I see myself doing this year is to just make sure it was better than last year. And then make sure whatever I'm doing contributes to the team's overall success. So definitely have personal goals, but make sure that they align with the team's goals. So that's kind of that's where I'm at with everything.
Any final words there, Matt and Jeff?
No, Calvin, thank you for joining us tonight. It's great to see you. Look forward to seeing you in the slaughterhouse on March 29th.
Oh yeah, we can't wait for that one. We can't wait.
Yeah, appreciate you. appreciate you coming on. In the first schedule, you guys were supposed to come to us, and now you aren't. So I was a little upset about that, but
Yeah.
I will definitely be sure to check you out throughout the season on all the games on YouTube and everything.
All right. Yeah. Appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Calvin. We'll be back after this for more Inside the Walls podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 170 of Inside the Walls podcast. And again, if you want to follow us on all social media platforms, we are everywhere. And we'll be saying goodbye to one of the locations here in a few days. That is Tiki Talk, but we'll be still giving you some great content of all other platforms, from Instagram to Facebook to YouTube to Rumble, X. There's a thing called X. What am I missing? We're on something else.
Twitch?
Instagram?
Yeah, we're on Twitch. There we go.
Oh,
See,
there it is. There it is.
we're so at NWallsNet for Twitch. For the people who are watching on Twitch, hi, we're live on Twitch right now, and we're high on we're high on Rumble. What's up, dude? Yeah, that's definitely gonna get flagged by YouTube.
That's getting clipped.
Oh god, yeah, that's gonna get clipped. That's gonna be on one of our Instagram reels. That's great. It's gonna be on the blooper reel at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yep.
Can't do that if you're scripted. Just saying. But breaking down more of the Idaho Horsemen, Matt had the honors to get our guest, and Jeff and I are usually the ones that create all the unique graphics. But due to a busy week for both of us, we couldn't get the graphics situated. But we'll still break down the Idaho Horsemen, key games to watch, what we expect of the team, key players to look out for this season for the 2025 year. Let's go start with you, Matt. What's the most intriguing thing about this team right now, as of right now? Because they're still signing players. Everyone's still signing players. But so far, what's the most intriguing thing about Idaho?
I mean, I think it's kind of, for me, it's what I mentioned when we talked to Calvin, right? They've got their main receiving core back. And like Calvin mentioned, coming into an arena indoor football environment, like knowing the playbook is one thing that, you don't have to know if you are with the same coaches and the same thing like that, right? So I imagine Calvin and Rashad and Justin and Kyler, they're going to be able to work with those quarterbacks and be like, hey, you guys are new here, but here's how you integrate into this offense and that kind of thing. So I think that's a big key. I know we're going to get into their schedule in a little bit, so I'll hold off on talking about that here for a minute. But I think that's a big thing, and just consistency. I think having that consistency this year where they're coming in now knowing what to expect as an organization in the National Arena League. And, I think that we're going to see a much improved Idaho team this season.
Well, before we get out any further, get your tickets now, Idaho. Go to gohorsemen.com for ticket information. Single game tickets, season tickets are on sale now. If you're listening to our podcast platforms, go visit gohorsemen.com for all ticket needs for your horsemen. Jeff?
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Matt's saying, the stability at the quarterback position is definitely going to help out those receivers. And them, having good quarterback play is going to be key. They got a lot of defensive starters back from last year as well. So their front three are definitely going to be, coming and hungry and ready to go. So they've definitely put the pieces back together. And I mean, Matt said it, excited to see what they have, and they're definitely going to be much improved from last year.
Much improved last year, and their season gets well. We talked about last week about Colorado, how they may have the overall tough schedule. I don't care what people say about the NAL, about how it's very hard to push up and hype up games. But if you look at Idaho, especially the season they had last year, and you look at the schedule, like, okay, we're going to start off with get a good win week 1 and then, working the schedule. No, they get smacked right in the face because they play their first game of the season because they're off week 1 and they travel to Sioux City. And then after Sioux City, they don't have a break. They go play a certain team that Matt's a fan of the next week in the Omaha Beef. Again, Commissioner, not holding anything back. That's back-to-back. You're doing the I-29 rivalry the Idaho way on the road, both games. We talk about Colorado, how their schedule is tough. What a way to start off the season, especially for the Horsemen.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You look at that. I mean, we talk in baseball sometimes about having like a murderer's row type thing, right? And I can't imagine starting the season any harder. I mean, they play the Rougarou in their week 3 game, and at least that's back at home, but starting the season on the road against the against the runners up and then the defending league champions in back-to-back weeks. You got to think about that, right? Going from Idaho to Sioux City, then back to Idaho, then back to Omaha. That's tough. That's going to be a tough stretch right there to start the season. And then, then you play the Rougarou, and then you turn around, and I'm sure we'll get to this. And then you got Carolina, so it doesn't get any easier at that point. So.
Well, the benefit for them is that they only play Omaha once. The disadvantage of that is if they lose Omaha, they don't get that tiebreaker that could be very pivotal towards the end of the year if they're trying to be a team that's contending for those 2 postseason spots in the National Division Championship game. Jeff, what's your opinion about their start of the 2025 season?
I don't know what it is, but, like you mentioned, that I-29, the commissioner really likes putting those teams back to back against other teams, which is just crazy to me. But yeah, it's just a rough sledding there for them. Definitely trying to get things figured out. And then, smack dab in the middle, they have that Colorado. They got to go to Colorado. At least they get Carolina at their house this time and don't have to travel to Carolina. But that tough matchup there with Denver in the middle. And then it just, once again, down the middle, they get Sioux City once again there towards the end of their schedule. So, yeah, it's definitely rough.
Yeah, they get Sioux City. And for the fans who are listening on the podcast platform, the Idaho Horsemen opened up the 2025 season Friday, March 14th at 7 p.m. Mountain. Against the Idaho Horsemen in week 2. Week 3, they travel to Omaha. Then week 4, they're home against Shreveport, Rougarou, and then they're home against the Carolina Cobras in the first part of the season. Then we get to the season where I think you got 2 matchups against 2 division opponents twice with Amarillo and Colorado home and away with that home game against Sioux City as well. So for you fans that are listening on the podcast platform, you're at Sioux City, at Omaha, then you're home back-to-back, Rougarou and Carolina. Then you're on the road to Denver, to the Denver Coliseum. And that's the actual Denver or Colorado Spartans' first home game. And it's to welcome Idaho into the Denver Coliseum. Then you're home for 3 of the next 4 against Amarillo, Sioux City, then at Amarillo, then home against Colorado, then you final game of the season, May 24th, wrap up the year, a long distant road trip to the Carolina Cobras. Their schedule starts off tough, gets manageable halfway through the year, and depending on how the season plays out, the second half of the schedule could either benefit Idaho or it could be in a situation where either A, they could try and pull away from some opponents, or it'd be a situation where they have games where they can actually gain ground on certain teams. Their first part of the schedule is kind of because you got 2 wild cards right off the bat. You got the Rougarou right off the bat. We don't know what type of team they are. And you have Amarillo. We don't know what type of team they are yet. You'll find out soon who they are once the season begins. We know some of the players on the team with our history in many leagues on these organizations, but you can be the best team on paper. It's when you see on the field. And what we saw from Idaho last year is that they are bringing majority of their team back who went through a trial and tribulation season in 24, get that quarterback position fixed, you're more competitive. They were competitive in the second half of the season last year. It's just that they ran out of the games. They actually gained ground in the standings. But you look at the overall schedule, tough beginning, very manageable in the middle, and depending on what happens in the regular season, those last 3 weeks with Carolina and Amarillo, and well, you can throw in Sioux City in there as well, could be a chance for them to gain ground or pull away. But that's the uniqueness of the sport. We thought teams honestly, I actually watched some old video from Matt predicting that Colorado was going to be a playoff team last year. That didn't happen. It's an amazing thing about the sport. Our predictions don't mean a damn thing. Excuse my language. Don't mean a damn thing because they can change on the dime.
Yeah.
But you look at Idaho, tough schedule to start off, manageable. In the deep half of their schedule, they can try and make a run. But the benefit is they got to win. We've talked to many coaches. We talked to Coach Rez. We've talked to Tatum. We've talked to Coach Shaw. We talked to Brandon DeGrone, and they've always said undefeated at home, 500 on the road. And if you do that this year, you're 7-3, 8-3.
Yeah.
That's the record. Can Idaho do something, or can they push for that type of schedule or that type of record at the end of the year? That 6-4 type of range, maybe 7-2 type of range, 7-3, 8-2 type of range. Or are we looking at Idaho as they can be an improving team, meaning 500? Is that more manageable for them, or do you think they have the potential to actually, push for that 6 win or maybe the 7, or maybe they could be the complete surprise team in the league and actually go like 8-2 and actually win the division? Start with you, Jeff.
I mean, they definitely have a huge chip on their shoulder. It's a team that was used to winning games in other leagues, and then they moved to the NAL. Competition's a little bit better, like you mentioned, and they do have a huge chip on their shoulder, and they're looking to see what they can do for the season. They're definitely picking up some more players. That's one thing that you can tell from a team from the previous years. If they bring everybody back, then they were significant with what they did. They brought some key people back, but there's a lot of new faces on that team, and that's exactly what you need. That's the great thing about arena football and indoor football, is the fact that year to year you could have a brand new team if you want.
Yeah, it's the joys of the arena game. It's literally fantasy football every single year.
Mm-hmm.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you look at their schedule, and it's tough to kind of really pick out what you think could happen, right? Because we don't know what Shreveport's going to look like. We don't know what Amarillo is going to look like other than what we've seen on paper, right? So it's like, sometimes you can look at schedules and you can go, okay, I can pencil in a win there, and I can pencil in a win there, and I can. But what I saw last year from Idaho was a team that was scrappy, a team that no matter how much they were out of a game, they busted their butts and played their hearts out, and they left everything they had on the field. No, they didn't give up, and they were competitive. Even in the losses, they were competitive to the point where if they would have had a quarterback that was stable for the whole season, I think they would have won a few more games. That opening stretch is going to be tough, right? I mean, you've got 3 out of the first 4 games of your season are against Sioux City, Omaha, and Carolina, which are arguably 3 of the best teams in the league. And then you have that Shreveport game that's just kind of bunched in there as well. We don't know what Shreveport's going to bring to the table other than what we see on paper and on the transactions list. And then, again, you end the season with Colorado, Sioux City, and then also the Cobras again. So, it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, if they win all their home games, that's 5 wins, right? And then they have 5 road games. So can you find 2 or 3 other wins in those 5 road games? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Coach Rez is trying to make me break my character. I gotta do my job. I gotta stay focused here. What break character? What, I mean, a thing? Am I a character? What, like a WWE character? Which they assigned an interesting deal. I'll talk to you about that off air. When I think of Idaho, I think of a team from last year that got behind the 8 ball a lot of their games. And when they finally figured their stuff out last year, a player went down with an injury or key turnover, or like they went up against the Carolina Cobras, and the Cobras just hit deuce after deuce after deuce after deuce. I think Kevin D. Weber set the deuce record on that game, how many times he kicked the deuce. It felt like every time they got ahead and they thought everything was going to push forward, they fell back because of bad penalties, turnovers, and you see that in a lot of teams that are trying to transition to the league. In the second year, teams improve. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to jump on Idaho's train and say, yeah, they're going to be the miracle team this year. They have potential to be good because right now, when you look at the national division, people will look at the top three teams. They'll look at Colorado, they'll look at Sioux City, and look at Omaha and go, those are the three teams that are going to be competing for the 2 spots. Will Amarillo or Idaho be one of those teams that, puts their name in a hat, steals a game or 2 or 3 and be competitive? Well, they're bringing in a team from last year with a lot of experience. And like I said earlier, they need to fix that quarterback position because the teams in the West, you look at West, all 3 of the Western National Division teams all have the top 3 quarterbacks with experience in the sport. That's a key position. You look at the East and the American, same way. The top 3 teams that are going to be in the East, or the American Division. I always say the East because they are the eastern part of this country, ladies and gentlemen. So give it a quick Eastern, Western. The American Division, which is the Eastern Division. Technically, I still the American Division. You have, Grant Russell. You have Brooks. You have quarterbacks. The better the quarterback, the higher level you can get into the season. And if they could just fix that quarterback position in Idaho, they can't be a 5-5 team or a 6-4. I look at that schedule. I just see that start of that year. Like they need to find a way to snag 2 out of those first 4. They have to. That's a must. 1-3, 0-4. You're in issues, especially in the National Division. 4-0, you're sitting pretty because you don't know how that middle of that schedule is going to work out for them. With Amarillo twice, Sioux City. Sioux City is going to be tough no matter who, whatever year Sioux City is tough. Just ask Matt. It can be 10 years from now or 20 years in the past. Sioux City. It's going to be tough for them. But I'm going to be I was very high on Colorado. I'm still very high on Colorado. I'll put Idaho in that, you know what? They're going to be much improved this year. They are going to bite someone in the behind this year. They're going to ruin somebody's playoff chance in the National Division this year. Could put them in too, but they will ruin someone's national postseason position this year in the National Division. That's what I think. Question is can they get to 6 wins? I think that's the number you got to get in the National Division.
Yeah,
I think it's somewhere in there, 6 or 7. I really think it's going to be, like we mentioned, it's probably going to be, there's 2 spots. You're probably going to have, 3 to 4 teams in each battling it out. And the way the schedules go down, you're going to see some exciting stuff happen towards the end of the season.
Well, I know I told how Matt, I said, well, he said Colorado was going to make the playoffs last year because we thought it was a 4-team playoff. Hey, I'm the person who said Carolina was going to win the whole thing last year. Remember that, Matt?
Yeah.
What did Omaha do to me?
Yeah.
Zipped me. Nay. Omaha went nay.
I think they played that video on loop in the locker room last year.
Tatum did say that, man. Why are you acting like I'm oh, shocked? It's not the first time it's happened either. By the way, shout out to the Colorado Spartans. They've been sharing a lot of our stuff, especially. Our number 1 biggest fan is chiming away in the chat. He is the 4th co-host if he wants to be on the show, but that's what I think about it. I think I just look at Idaho. I look at the past last year. You win 5 games in your Idaho. That's a hell of an improvement from last year. 5-5, 6 might get you a win. I just look at that schedule. I'm like, oof, they didn't get any favors early in the season. Not at all. Matt, Idaho's in your division. You play them once. You played them earlier last year too, up in the slaughterhouse. What do you expect? Give me the over/under. Okay, actually, doing it right now. Inside the Walls podcast over/under. I'm setting their record at 5.5.
Push.
Dang, 500. Copped out.
I just look at so 5.5 is your number.
5.5. Vegas sets the line at 5.5.
I wasn't ready to do this. You didn't tell me, so put me on the spot. I'm gonna go.
That's the best thing about this show.
You know what? I might actually go over. I agree with you. I think they're gonna get somebody that maybe we don't expect them to
Okay,
get.
how about this? Okay, Jeff, you do yours, and I'll because we already said ours last week. We have video evidence of what we thought the records would be for Colorado. So so everyone can listen here on the National Arena League's #1 podcast. We'll do all the teams over/unders, and whoever hits the most correct is safe. The one who hits the worst, the least amount, has to buy dinner for one of us at the championship game this year. Or lunch. Bro, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going cheap as heck. Hope you like McDonald's.
We're gonna be dollar millionaires.
Hopefully the McRib isn't. Never mind. But yeah, 5.5. We already have records from last week. Jeff, what's your?
I say 4.
So you're taking the under.
Yeah, I'm taking the under. I say 4. I say 4 and 6. It's their schedule is kind of rough. They're gonna get some things figured out. I think they're still maybe a year behind. And they can clip it and put it in the they can clip it and put it in the bulletin board, and I hope they prove me wrong. But they're in a tough division. They're gonna get some tough play there. That's I think 4 and 6 definitely is gonna be where they're gonna stand. So yeah, I'm gonna go under.
You pushed. Jeff went under.
Does push count?
Yeah, because you're predicting 5 and 5.
Yeah, you're predicting 5 and 5.
Predicting 5 and 5.
All right.
Yeah, they play Carolina twice, Coach.
Yeah, home and away. Last game at Carolina at the very end of the year. They have to fix their quarterback. If they fix their quarterback, I'm going to regret saying this.
And boom, right on cue. Look at that. Good. I hope so. I really hope so. Like I
hope
really,
so too.
Yeah, I really do. Like,
thanks for watching, Rashad.
I'm taking the under as well because I want to see. Yeah. I love when players get motivated and they clip us and put on stuff because, you know, I love doing it. I basically tell Coach Rez, he was there in the building in Albany, New York, when he heard my voice on the freaking preview Jumbotron intro video for the NAL championship game from 2022. When I called Albany slow and old. And then Carolina, unfortunately, Coach Rez, the results happened. I take blame for that. So to the players who watch this show and go, we're going to prove you wrong, use our clips. If we help motivate you win the game, amen, brother. We're here for the love of the game, and you know what? That's what you do. And he confirmed. But Coach, I do have to say, you have a championship ring since then, and that one was more victorious and celebratory than the one in Albany, especially the one last year in Wheeling, West Virginia. Who do you think will be your hardest game this season? Who are you talking about, Ryan? We have 3 people who work for 3 different teams. Well, 5 different teams in the league. Carolina, Wheeling, and Omaha. clarify. We'll answer this question. We'll do so, and we'll wrap it up here. It's a nice little show. Any more questions? I know our number one super fan's been asking questions all night. If you want someone trying to break someone's character, call Coach Rez. He'll definitely break character. Oh, okay. Who do you? This is for you, Matt. Do you think the Beef will
Do good this year?
Yes. Go this year?
I
Yeah.
mean, I think the Beef are gonna be, just as talented as they were last year. So, but that's a different night. We'll get to that on a different night. Let's keep this focus on Idaho tonight. So,
how about for all of you? Carolina's hardest game. Willing. I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis on those 3 games. So that's Carolina's hardest games. Jeff, what about Willing?
I think it's going to be the Week 8 matchup with Sioux City. I think that's going to be, depending on where both teams are at, I think it's going to be, it could, shake out, could be, who hosts the National Arena League Championship, could be, playoff positioning, and then it's the second to the last game of the season. So, I mean, it's one of those things that you're definitely going to try to look at and see where it's at, third game, but see where it's at and go from there. Yeah, see, Sioux City, yeah, definitely.
What about the Beef there, Matt?
I mean, I think it when you talk about difficult game, it starts and ends with Sioux City. Every time we play them.
Is that difficult to say?
No, it is, but it's not. Like, as a fan and with a rivalry game, that game is everything you want. Like, it's literally everything. Like, throw the records out the window. But again, we'll talk about that when we get to the Omaha and Sioux City episodes. But like, it's one of those rivalries where you just throw the game, you throw everything out of the window, and anything can happen in that game. So for me, it's going to always be Sioux City. Every time we play them is going to be our toughest game.
Well, a little tease, by the way. In 2 weeks, even though our show will air on Thursday, the 30th, January 29th, I'm going to pay tribute to the I-29 rivalry, as it will be a double feature presentation where we will get both the Beef and Sioux City on Inside the Walls podcast, breaking down them two. So we'll get the rivalry started. Got to have, I like the banter between both coaches and both organizations. That's one thing I love about those 2 teams. They dislike each other, but there's a lot of respect between the 2. So why not spice it up in a little surprise announcement in 2 weeks when we talk about the I-29 rivalry. And also we'll have guests from the Sioux City Booth Review podcast on that episode as well to break it down more between the 2 rivalries of the 2 organizations for the 2024 season. But next week, we'll make our little trip to the East Coast, down in the Bayou, as we go in depth with the Roo of Shreveport. So in the words of a famous TikToker or Instagrammer, while we wait, we hydrate.
Put
Just
that on
saying.
a cracker, dude.
Put it on a cracker, dude. But anyways, any final words there, gents? Matt.
Nope. Again, just thank you to Clavin Lowe for joining us tonight. Really happy to have him on and hear his story and learn a little bit more about Idaho. And then next Tuesday night, tune in to the Prime Cuts podcast. We're going to have some of the coaching staff on for the Omaha Beef.
Jeff?
Nah, it's nice to get another representative from a different team on here. That's the goal, was to get somebody from each team, on here to talk about their brand and how they're doing things and, where they're at. And it's great to see, the cooperation and getting them on here and just, learning more about, getting the fans to learn more about these teams that they may not see all the time.
Agreed. But also, we do this for fun. We enjoy it. As you can tell, our shows and every show that's on Inside the Walls Network is non-scripted. We do go off the rails sometimes, especially if you watch Through the Wire. We do have fun.
What am I supposed to do with this script then? Just throw it away?
Well, you got to give it to Coach Rez.
Okay.
It just
Fair
came
enough.
through the hot press today.
Okay.
Yeah. Mine got delivered by a pigeon, and he was kind of drunk and intoxicated. So the script was from last year, so I think he's a little late.
Okay.
But yeah. But Matt, it's an honor. It's a privilege. Jeff, it's been a busy week.
Yes, sir.
By the way, that was, again, go check out Boys from the Wheel podcast from last week. That was a unique show. I had a good time with that. A different side of me.
Yeah.
I have some people have messaged me about it and said, well, you could tell that you really love the sport. It's like, yeah, no crap. But go check out Boys from the Wheel. Around the NAL comes back next week or tomorrow. Dukon Williams Idaho preview tomorrow on Inside the Walls Network. Oh, here I released it.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm late then, so I got to release it myself. So, anyways, check out Around the NAL with Dukon Williams on podcast
next week
and podcast platforms as well. Click the QR code, get the episodes, get caught up, and also to kick off the season, we will be in Wheeling, West Virginia, for Spartans and the Miners for NAL game day. We good?
Good.
Little delay, but again, it's Inside the Walls Network. We have a tradition not starting on time because we don't care about time. We don't. We the ones. No, we the ones. I put the finger down. Well, am I the GOAT? I'm not the GOAT. No. That'll be another episode for another day there, folks. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, and we're going down to the Bayou. We'll get some Bobby. I wonder if we can get Bobby Boucher. Can we get Bobby Boucher?
That'd be awesome.
My mama said.
What about Farmer Fran? No, we need to see if we can get Ed Orgeron on. That's when you gotta have subtitles of the subtitles. Well, for more to do, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week for another edition of Inside the Walls podcast. Be well, be safe, and go your NFL team. Yay, playoffs. All of our seasons are over. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you guys next week. Playoffs?